Coach Flecks come under fire. We know that. There's an article out there. But Coach Fleck fires back and says these are baseless claims. And here's why I'll go with this. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but he's 100% right. This is why. If you look at, and I hate to do this, but in America, in China, in wherever, any country, the high-performing people always get a little bit more leniency. Like Reggie Wilson at Care 11 can show up and just absolutely do whatever he wants to do. We know that. But Joe Blow, intern, he can't do that. Like, he can't walk in a training camp at the Vikings facility and just talk to whoever he wants. So that same person might come back to work and feel like, hey, you guys don't appreciate me. You guys don't talk to me as much as well. And that's what happens in college sports. You have 120 plus athletes. You don't have time as a head coach to deal with 120 plus athletes. So you have to create a culture. That's what PJ Fleck has done. We know elite is a part of his culture. So if you say you're doing good, he's going to say, oh, you're not elite. It's just a part of his culture. As far as the Fleck Bank, everybody has something where you're able to pour into something to be able to get stuff, whether it's you get prizes, whether it's you get out of maybe conditioning. We know that guys that pass the conditioning test don't have to wake up early the next day. We did that back in 1998. You pass the conditioning test on day one, you don't got to come back for day two. You're done. And that's what it's about. And so for some players that have to keep coming back at 6 a.m. every day, they probably were pissed off. Like, man, how come I got to keep coming back? Because you didn't run the test. And so for PJ Fleck, it is basis. I just feel like some of these players are looking for a reason to gripe about it. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I know, Sam, one of the questions was, why does Fleck keep getting this criticism? It's because in Minnesota sports, we're just negative. We love to be negative here. It's never been positive. I'm not going to say names. I'm not going to say Royce. I'm not going to say names. But people just love to be negative, and then they think that makes them famous by being negative. And that's just who Minnesota is right now. What you got, Sam?
Yeah, Ron, I too read the article, and I thought it was mostly baseless, as Fleck said. Like, I think that players that are complaining about having to memorize acronyms or having to learn Fleck's handbook, yeah, that's part of being in the program. Hard practices, yeah, that's part of being in the program. Are there rituals? And I would say that Fleck is a very ritualistic coach. Like, there are certain things like clapping when he enters the room, repeating words back to him. Yeah, that is all part of his culture, right? So that might seem peculiar to some people. There's 100 guys in there every year. Is it going to sit well with every single person? No. But again, there's nothing illegal about that, about having rituals and routines that you want your players to get into. He's trying to form these good habits among his players so they're all very cohesive, right? I think there were two things that he had to answer for, and he did that at his press conference yesterday. One of them was overlooking drug tests with the Fleck Bank, right? And he said that, no, the Fleck Bank is never really a thing. The Fleck Bank was something that we referred to as, if you do the right things, you will get rewarded for it and have a good experience. The second thing was using physical activity as punishment, or I think the article alleged that people had threw up from doing burpees as punishment. And Fleck says, no, we never do that. In fact, that we have other punishments, not physical activity, that our entire athletic department models itself after. So again, if Fleck is telling the truth about that, then I don't think there's anything to look at here, because he seems to have an answer for everything that was thrown at him that was maybe bordering on illegal or against policy. So I think that the athletic department has his support. I think that this is probably a big nothing burger in the end. There are some disgruntled people in that program trying to make Fleck's life very miserable. And we've seen these before. It might be the same people that keep sending this story out into the universe.
Yeah, not too much to add. You guys kind of hit on the specifics. I'll just say, in general, PJ's always going to be that loud, energetic, emotional person when he's out there. Wears his heart on his sleeve. What you see is what you get. And anytime you put yourself out there, like he has over the years, trying to build that new culture up from the ground up, you become very vulnerable and susceptible for others to scrutinize you and put you under the magnifying glass, even when it has no merit. I think Ron nailed it. I think anytime anyone's in that spotlight, and has a little bit of success, there's always going to be a few people who come out of the woodwork and just try to bring you down. That's just the way the world works, unfortunately. Personally, I don't look at PJ any different or in a negative light now after this. I think the huge discrepancy in contrast of people who speak so highly of him and have come through that program versus this small, minor backlash kind of does all the talking for him, right? And I think as long as he's in the spotlight, comes with the territory, there's always going to be a few people that just want to critique his process. I don't think there's a lot he can really do, but maybe go out there and just be the same person he's continued to be, having a positive impact on the team, the players, and the community, like he always has these 6 years he's been here.
Yeah, since I've been here in Minnesota, I've always just thought PJ was just a weird dude, like just a peculiar guy, just a straight. He's a little off. He's a little off. Okay, so like don't try to act like he ain't, because like it like you could tell like, but I don't think that that means that he's like a terrible person. I just don't know if he's. I don't know. I don't really have a read on the guy. I just think that he's just, I don't know. Like yesterday I was looking at Twitter and Pat Forte called him a gimmick king. And I think that probably checks. Like there's a lot of buzzwords and, you know, a lot of things that he does that you're like, oh, that's a little cringe. You know, you got to be elite and, you know, all these different things. And so I think, you know, one of my friends, we were talking about it, and he was like, you know, I don't think there's anything that is like wrong or like illegal that PJ Fleck was doing. He was just like, he looked at like the dictionary of terms and PJ Fleck's like Rolodex, if you will, that he, you know, tells the team and all that. He's just like, if anything, he's just like kind of cringy. But other than that, like, I don't think there's too much of a problem. So like, I don't want to downplay like these guys' experiences who have come out and spoken out against what Fleck has done. Maybe that's just his style is just not their style, and they just kind of take offense to it. But I don't know. It seems to have worked, and all the people who have come out to like defend PJ Fleck since this has happened, it just it's hard to take a side and say like, oh yeah, like this dude is corrupt, because like I used to cover Ohio State, and I was there when Urban Meyer was there, and some of the stuff that happened there with his assistant wide receivers coach, and some of the stuff that he kind of kicked under the rug, and those reports and stuff like that. Like I've seen some corrupt stuff before with the program, and this just doesn't necessarily seem like it. But like I said, I don't want to downplay these guys' experiences. He just may not be their cup of tea. His style just may not. You know, it may clash with how they think football is supposed to be, but that's just PJ's style. It's just a little weird. That's all.
Well, here's where I go before we get out of here. We got one more topic, people. We got to talk about the NFC North. We're all just going to make a quick prediction. We're not going to go too deep into this. This is early as training camp. We just want to get some ideas out there, what we think about the Lions, Bears, Packers. But for those watching on YouTube, we thank you guys for continuing to download, like, share, subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota. Also, Amazon Fire and Roku. You can get all of our shows on those devices. And then SiriusXM, proud partner of Locked On Sports. Just make sure you go to the SXM app. So we are very thankful for all of our partners, our digital streaming partners, and our content partners as well. But here's what I'll say one thing, Sam. I like what you said. Physical punishment. As a society, we have gotten soft. If you do something wrong, you should be punished. If you have to run, okay. If you got to roll, okay. If you got to run back and forth on the football field, do it. Here's the reason why. Because so many people get in trouble and they don't have consequences because their families and their parents continue to like get them out of stuff. And then we have the issues that we have now with people not wanting to be held accountable. It's about accountability. When I played, I didn't even do anything bad. I fumbled a ball against Houston because I was like I held it in one hand like I was Keyshawn Johnson. I fumbled. They made me run the field with a football and do like basically up downs. I had to run. I had two footballs in both hands, and I had to just hit the ground, get up, hit the ground. Then I had to bear crawl the whole field. And then what did I do? I never. Oh, and I celebrated too. I think I didn't fumble. I remember I celebrated. I like threw the ball and spun it or something. I never did that again. I never did that again. Why? Because I knew what the consequences were, and it wasn't something I should do. So that's the problem. And I didn't even smoke weed. I didn't go out and get a DUI. I just I think I celebrated or fumbled. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, I never did it again. Never ever did it again. So consequences, people. Consequences. There's gonna be issues. You're gonna have a consequence. All that stuff to me just sounds like football. I hate to say it, sports and football, that's what it's about. You're dealing with 122 men, and you got to keep them all under control.